Is Oxenfree worth playing in 2024? I think kind of like a Plague Tale, that depends on who you are. But for me personally, this was fantastic. I actually didn't come into Oxenfree expecting to really like the game, especially coming off Plague Tale, where it was fairly narrative heavy and light on gameplay. And I could tell from Oxenfree pretty early on that that's similar to what it was going to be. It was going to be light on gameplay, heavy on story. But this one landed very differently for me. So I really enjoyed this, and I'll try to explain why. This will be a short video, partially because the game is very short and focused, and also anything I would really talk about will be a huge spoiler. Similar to a Plague Tale, there's a few things here in Oxenfree that I think are going to very much appeal to a few people. They won't appeal to everyone, similar to a Plague Tale where I think that storyline, the setting, that relationship between the two characters would really be enough for some people to enjoy the game. Similarly here, the vibe of the world in Oxenfree, how well done the voice acting is, how great the narrative is, I think will be enough for many. There's a very Stranger Things vibe here before Stranger Things was even a thing. And I think if you're somebody who enjoyed Stranger Things or kind of grew up reading Stephen King books, or you just like that weird and unusual, this is really going to check all those boxes if you're willing to play through a game where it's very narrative heavy. There is not much in the way of gameplay. I'll talk about the gameplay, but there's not a lot. As I mentioned, there's a central mystery that's kind of pulling you forward in the game. That is, for me, what kept me interested, along with the interesting characters that actually made me want to see what happened to them. Also, as I mentioned, the voice acting is really well done here. I didn't really hear a bad performance out of anyone. They're also very believable characters. The writing was done really well to where when you're talking to these people, they feel like people. They're multidimensional and they have a lot of depth to them. And you're really trying to understand what these relationships were because you're kind of walking into the middle of these relationships. So you're really trying to understand like why these people feel the way they do about each other. And I just found the characters to be very interesting and the story to be very compelling. Again, I can't really say much because anything I really say here would be a spoiler. As I mentioned, the gameplay is pretty minimal. The gameplay really revolves around two things. You have the dialogue options where you're getting to choose what your character is going to say, what they're going to ask. And then the other part of that is the tuning of a radio. Again, I'll be fairly non-specific on why, but the tuning of the radio causes a lot of things in the world to happen. It also gives the characters a lot of information about the world and what is actually happening. Other than that, honestly, there just isn't much that I can say. What I will say is on the topic of focus, this game is super focused to the point where it should almost be used in game design classes as an example of how to stay focused on a particular area of your game. It basically succeeds in everything it tries to do, and it doesn't try to do anything that it can't do well. It's also very short and doesn't outstay its welcome. Again, another thing I really like about games, especially indie games like this. It doesn't try to prolong it. It's a short 3 or 4 hour experience, and actually it was interesting enough that I went ahead and did a New Game Plus playthrough, maybe 2 New Game Plus playthroughs depending on your outlook. Again, spoilers, so I can't really say too much. I'm typically not somebody who does a New Game Plus playthrough, and yet here I felt very compelled to immediately start again and see what changed. I will say there's more to the New Game Plus than, a basic, hey, you just play the story again. There's changes, and those changes are interesting. And again, I'll be vague and say I can't really say much else. But anyway, as I said, there really isn't a whole lot to talk about here. I really enjoyed the game. I really, if you're somebody who likes narrative and likes that sense of weird, I would definitely play Oxenfree. It is really well done. If this doesn't sound appealing to you, if you're hearing all of these details and this doesn't sound appealing at all, I would absolutely not play Oxenfree. This is probably not going to be a game for you. Like I said, it is very much light on the gameplay. There is not a lot to it. So the next Operation Backlog game will actually be the original Castlevania before I work on something a little larger. Thanks for watching. If you liked the video, maybe hit subscribe. If you like the faster, more unedited format, maybe let me know. If you hated it, let me know that too. See you next time.